BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Okay, shall we get going?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Do you want to
Where's
start?
my notes?
Yeah, that's a good point, Robert.
Do you want some
Does Robert have
cards?
notes?
No, I don't.
No.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to a really special episode of Sidetracked. My name is Annie Macmanus.
My name is Nick Grimshaw, and as you know, myself and Annie get together every week and discuss the week in music. And today, we have a very special co-host with us.
Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, I'm Robert from a group called The Cure.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah. Love that.
Okay,
That's right.
for anyone listening who needs context, Robert, aka Robert Smith, is lead singer of The Cure, one of the most influential bands to ever come from the UK. I'm sorry, Robert, you will squirm here.
There's quite the list of these accolades, by the way.
They released their first album in 16 years this year, Songs of a Lost World, which is absolutely beautiful.
We've talked about it a lot on this very podcast.
Yes.
They've headlined Glastonbury 4 times and sold over 35 million albums. Would you like this to continue for the full hour?
Shall we do it?
Yes.
Beware, there will be swearing.
Watch out. How does it feel when you hear accolades like that? Because I imagine coming back with a new record, you're sort of faced often with hard-hitting, fantastic facts about yourself like that.
Yeah, it's been...
Can I just say that Robert is wringing his hands? This is an important visual thing.
I know it's weird, but
It's
we want to
been
know.
driven home to me a lot. I think because of... we've carried on playing all through the years. So even though this is the first release of new songs in 16 years, we've been out there kind of playing pretty much relentlessly. That's the wrong word. Each year we've played like almost 100 shows in the last couple of years. So I think those kind of accolades, they don't seem real, I suppose, because everything that we do depends very much on the next thing we do. In my mind, it's always been like that. So I never sort of, that sounds a bit glib, but I don't sort of think, oh, we did this, we did that. It doesn't really matter. Like even the album that's just come out, it's like I'm thinking what we do next is the thing. So it's in some ways it's a curse because I've always been like that, and I really have to struggle sometimes to enjoy what I'm doing at the time.
Yeah, you want to be able to smell the roses. Yeah. How are you feeling about the album? I mean, how it's been received by the world, and also is that something you care about?
Yeah, I do. I think any artist that releases whatever it is for public consumption is lying if they say it doesn't like it.
Yeah,
it's like I don't care what anyone thinks.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't bother releasing it. It's like I'm happy with it. I felt like we've reached a point where we've created something which I was really, really happy with, and I must say I've been slightly bewildered by the response. It really is a far more positive and engaged than I ever imagined it would be. I thought that Cure fans, we've been playing some of the songs live, like I said, over the last couple of years. Yeah. And I know people are getting into what we're doing. So I wasn't worried about Cure fans, but the reach of the album has really been quite disconcerting.
But I wonder why you think it's been received in this way. Like, what is it about this album at this time that means people have just fallen for it so hard?
I mean, it's good.
It's good.
That helps.
Yeah,
I think if we'd come out with
songs,
something which wasn't particularly good, I think that people would have, they would have been very happy to tell us it wasn't that good. I think it's I don't know, actually. I really don't know. I mean, I satisfied myself with it.
Right.
And so I think I would like to, when I've been living with it for a few months, and I think I like this, and I think it's really, really good. So I just imagine there are enough people like me out there to warrant releasing something. Yeah. But
I'm interested in putting it in the kind of landscape of contemporary music. It's, this
I don't know what that is.
Well, I mean, this is what we're going to talk about.
Released into the world that I have no idea what's going on.
It's so antithetical to what pop music is these days, where everything starts on TikTok.
We're not really pop music, are we? That's the other thing. I mean...
Well, I suppose just any sort of popular music, it's got more truncated. Songs have got shorter. The way songs become...
Yes.
Consumed
that surprised me as
through
well.
Social media.
People picking up on he doesn't start singing for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. I mean, I didn't think that would be a thing. But it was.
It really
was one
was
of
a
the first
thing,
things
yeah.
that ever
It's a
said to
real
me.
thing.
You know, people were saying, "Oh, it's an instrumental album." No, wait.
No, wait 3 minutes.
Give it
And it's
3
like-
minutes.
I like that though, because it's like I will get you in the mood.
Yeah, yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Get ready
But
to get
it's
in the
so,
mood.
like, when do you hear...
You don't, and I
music,
think that's
like-
probably why people. I think I listened to it in a different way because I listened to it and I didn't hear it through Instagram or I didn't hear it
Yeah.
through a platform. I sat and listened to the record
As it should be listened
as
to.
it should, and how
Yeah.
I used to always listen to
Do you
music.
think that's funny that you'd say that as you should? Because it's almost, see, in my mind, I resist even thinking like that because I think, like, how I
should
can't
you? I mean,
I did-
tell people, like,
I guess what I mean in the context is so much of the music we consume is background.
Yeah, it's
It's in
passive.
the background of a video. It's in the background of something. And when I say as it should, I mean you're giving it your full attention. And that's what I mean by
yeah,
that.
I must admit, the thing that bewildered, there are many things bewilder me. When I got I do email,
Okay.
and it was headed TikTok. At this moment,
God
I
help whoever
started to
sent that
think,
email.
and so of course I'm aware of what it is and everything,
Yeah.
but I'd never actually engaged with TikTok. But I realised that the things have been reduced down, and even when I was saying, like, how do you imagine we're going to work
Right.
on this platform? Because
Dance
these are
routines.
like 10, 15, 20-second clips is considered like a lifetime, So I am at odds in a lot of ways with so the record's been released into a like a landscape which is pretty alien actually.
Did you have to do a TikTok?
I don't think I've done it.
No.
Whatever that
We need
means.
to see
no,
it.
I haven't.
Did The Cure do
not,
TikTok?
I have not knowingly. have I?
Desperate to know what the Cure do on TikTok.
We
now.
have got a TikTok.
Yes.
If that's how.
Right,
That's
yeah.
The way.
Well, one of your red carpet moments has become viral.
Yes, that's
on
true.
TikTok, which is when you
Yeah.
The 2019 Hall of Fame.
2019 Hall of Fame. Yeah, I mean, so I think
I
maybe,
felt bad about that actually. 'cause
No, but
she
no,
was
you were really nice. I've studied it many
Yeah,
times.
okay.
You were just matter of fact.
Yeah. It was,
Yeah.
it was very funny.
You're
If
a
I'm
good
honest,
set of
I didn't
man.
realise that I was being filmed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's probably what I mean. It was just we had just come from quite a serious conversation in
Yeah.
our dressing room about what we were doing there, and
is like,
as
"You're
we
all
greeted by
so
this,
excited!"
this wave of sort of enthusiasm. It's like,
It's absolutely one of my favourite things ever. We play that out on the radio just every now and then for
Yeah.
no reason of a
Yeah.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get into the year of 2024. Should I do the year
Do
that
a little,
was?
do a little what happened this year.
Okay, so the things that
Fill me in.
this is what happened. The Cure joined TikTok. Charli XCX staged essentially a coup of pop music. We had Kendrick Lamar and Drake having the biggest rap beef maybe in living memory. We had the Co-op Live Arena opening plans blighted by a falling air conditioning unit. Every single week it felt like
There was
huge
something
gigs
else.
were being
Yeah.
cancelled in Manchester. We had Beyonce go country, the country music industry furious about it. And as Adele retired from music indefinitely, Oasis announced their reunion after 15 years apart. It's been quite the year.
Quite the year.
Quite the headlines.
Been a lot going on.
A lot,
We
yeah,
read it
stuff.
all
A lot
out.
of stuff. A lot of stuff. Yeah. A lot of stuff.
I knew all of that apart from Adele.
Yeah.
Adele.
She might be it.
But you see a shadow cross my face.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you went when you told me
Heartbroken.
that. Yeah.
Did you see the gig she did where she did the purpose-built stadium? So she didn't
Oh,
want
in
to
Germany.
tour.
Was it in Germany?
She built the stadium in Munich. Like they built one for her and then
Yeah, I
demolished it.
dimly remember that.
Imagine having your own stadium built for you.
Do you
because
not have-
couldn't be- I've
Do you
never
not
had
have
that, Robert.
Oh,
No.
do you not have that? Yeah, Robert does.
No, she did a cover version of Love Song, which was anyone that I admire anyone that does anything. If I'm honest, so I haven't got a bad word to say about Adele.
So let's talk about how pop music has evolved in 2024 and how it's been a kind of year for the girls. Music has been dominated by the rise of Charli XCX, Chappell, Roan and Sabrina Carpenter, who've already joined the ranks of Taylor Swift, Beyonce and Billie Eilish as some of the biggest names in pop music. So it's not just at the very top level. It's also people like Ray, Tyla, SZA, Sima, Olivia Rodrigo, Doja Cat. The girls are everywhere. And so many of these girls cite you as an influence, Robert.
Charli once referred to you as, and I quote here, as one of her crushes, and that she'd want you as the guitarist and musical director in her dream band.
And Chappell has also covered you. I don't know if you know that. Chappell Roan has played a few impromptu covers of Friday I'm in Love at her shows last year.
Right.
How
Have you experienced either?
how are you feeling about either of these? The music or the
Yes,
the cultural
it would be
sensations.
hard not to be aware of either. In fact, most of the people that you mentioned, you know. So despite the fact that I don't really, in my own mind, live in the modern world, I'm kind of like dimly aware of what's going on. So,
and how do you? Sorry to interrupt you, but how do you listen to music, and how do you know about these?
I buy stuff actually.
Okay.
I still buy physical. I still buy CDs and vinyl.
Great.
Mainly vinyl. I don't stream music on principle, and I never have. And I don't really. I've only got one connection in the house to the internet, and I use it and it's a laptop, and I lift the lid and I do what I'm going to do, and then I close the lid. So I don't really see it as an entrance to music. So I'm much more. I listen to the radio actually more than I.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of old-fashioned in that way as well. And also, people just will say to me, "Have you heard this? Have you heard that?" So and get in touch. Younger members of the family will say, "Uncle Robert, you really have to broaden your." Like, what now? And then so I'll listen to something, and then if I'd like it, I'll buy it. And then I listen to a lot of music just in the house or driving or whatever.
So what do you think then about Charli XCX and Brat?
Well, having said that, I think I think it's great, like the way that it took over. If, and I think I don't know. It's hard because the music itself isn't really something I would naturally listen to. So if I want to listen to stuff and I'm sort of like, maybe I've had a couple of beers and I think, so I've got such a catalogue of music that means something to me from an age when, like whether it be like, so 70s disco, let's say, like Donna Summer or Chic or Sister Sledge, all that kind of stuff. If I'm getting into that kind of like headspace where I'm thinking, and like, help me up.
I am obsessed with Robert having a disco moment.
It will be that, so I've got like playlists so I've got iPods for different kind of, I've got loads and loads of different iPods that have got like stickers on them and stuff like that. So I know in the dark which one's going to play which. And so they've all got stuff on them which suits my mood. And there's so much music that I've got from, which not in a nostalgic way, but stuff that really I can not just like move about to, but also means something to me. It reminds me of times that, and people that and stuff. Yeah. So really it's kind of unfair if, and it would be disingenuous of me to think that I've bought into like, Brat Summer or Chappell Roan, because it's not aimed at me, and it would be kind of like a bit weird if I was like, it's my, that's my favourite thing. I think what they do as artists is really fantastic. But I think that probably I'd be being dishonest if I said like it's what I listen to at home. So so I've been aware of her for a long time. Chappell Roan, she's just although she's been doing it for a while as well, has only really emerged, I think, into like the big, wider consciousness just over the past year. But anyone that really gets out there and does something, I just think it's great. I really do. I hate people just sitting there like and being critical and just saying, I mean, the thing when I was younger and I started, like, you have to develop an ability to ride that kind of criticism. And my way of doing it was thinking, like, I would much rather wake up as me than I would wake up as anybody else. And as long as you think that, criticism does tend to just like wash over you. And also people who criticise who have never done it, also it's like it's invalid. I don't, critics in general, I take with a pinch of salt. I mean, with the stuff that we were doing when we were getting 5-star reviews, I was intrigued because I was thinking, like, what did we do before that wasn't 5-star?
What's different?
But
do you take criticism or take pointers from anyone in your life? Like, if you have made a song, do you play it to anyone and say, "What do you think of this?"
I would be foolish to disregard my wife's opinions.
Amazing.
But we've grown up together and we've always liked the same kind of stuff. So I kind of know if she likes it, that it's probably I'm on the right track. The band generally has to like it to some degree, although, as with many bands, we're not really on the same page with me with regards to a lot of things. Actually, we just we just play music
together.
But,
music.
Yeah, there's a handful of people. There is a couple of younger members of my extended family whose opinion I value, who listen to the right kind of music, if I'm allowed to say, It's a bit pointless if I go to someone who's just essentially listening to rap music and say, "What do you think of Alone?" It doesn't really work like that. But there's enough people I know whose opinion I value. And there's also a few people that do what I do whose opinion I value. So once it gets to the point and I think I'm ready for them to hear it, I sometimes play stuff to people who do my job. to see what they think.
I'm obviously dying to know who that is.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I thought so.
Another thing about Chappell Roan that made a lot of headlines this year is her calling out her fans. In 2 TikTok videos, she called them out for their creepy behaviour. She said, if you saw a random woman on the street, would you yell at her from your car window? Would you harass her in public? Would you go up to a random lady and say, can I take a photo with you? And she says, no, what the fuck? And then you get mad at this random lady? So she's kind of, just saying your behaviour, some of her fans' behaviour is not acceptable.
It's a tricky one because it's a complicated subject. I think what you're doing as an artist, you want people to feel like they're engaging with you. But it is a modern world phenomenon that there is a sense of entitlement that didn't used to be there amongst fans when we started out. It was kind of enough that we did what we did, and people didn't really expect. I didn't as a consumer when I went to. I didn't expect something more. It was enough to kind of to see Alex Harvey or to see David Bowie. I didn't expect to like hang out with them or to really to get to know them. Whereas now it seems almost like that is part of the deal. And as The Cure became more popular, I mean, we obviously have experienced quite a lot of obsessive fan behaviour down the years, and it can feel quite threatening. You know, honestly, if you have people sleeping outside your front door, or like, it can get very weird, and it never bothered me as much as it bothered people around me. But when it comes to your front door, and people are there, and they feel like they're somehow that the cosmos has fated them to, you know, and you're dealing with people who perhaps aren't quite. You know, right a lot of the time.
Or who are vulnerable in their own way.
And so you're thinking, like, how do you respond to this? Because it's impossible, really. You can't be trained to respond. And I think that lots of people, well, most people don't think about it, is when you do, particularly if you're elevated to a position of celebrity or success over a reasonably fast period of time, it is more difficult to deal with things because you've got no grounding in how to deal with like at a lower level. It took us years and years and years of touring and going around the world and doing stuff until by the time we started to get properly famous, I kind of knew how to respond. I'd already developed that in as part of like who I was. But being famous, and if you're not enjoying what you're doing, I can't imagine many worse ways of living, because it's horrible being gawped at all the time, like prodded and poked, and people expecting more of you all the time. It's like it's a very strange
selfie culture. I mean, that's since your last album came out, that's a thing.
Yes,
selfie, like people grab you aggressively around the neck and pull you in for a selfie. I've actually started answering back to people now, being like, "Don't grab me, don't grab me."
Yeah,
get Marty with them.
Well, fair enough, Annie.
Yeah. Charli XCX was awarded Variety's Hitmaker of the Year just this week. And her speech is a very good example of where we're at with pop music in 2024. She talks about hitmaker just being a funny term in itself, and how to her, the Velvet Underground's debut album is the perfect hit, despite its lack of commercial success. Let's hear a little clip of what she said.
It's high and low. It's poetry meets drugs. It's earnest meets arrogance. And even if you have never heard a single song from this album, you will undoubtedly recognise its cover, either from the walls of a modern art gallery or from the shop floor of an Urban Outfitters. And let's be real, what is a hit if you're not conquering both of those places? My album cover has not yet appeared at the Guggenheim or the Whitney or the Tate. However, some of my merch is available to purchase right now in Urban Outfitters. So I guess that means that I'm halfway there.
Halfway there. So she talked about the album, the Velvet Underground album, going into the Billboard Top 200 at 199 and then peaking at 195.
Yeah.
So essentially considered...
at the time?
At the time. And it sold... she told a story of Lou Reed telling Brian Eno that the album in 5 years sold 30,000 copies. Yeah. So it's considered like not a hit.
No wonder he was so miserable.
And there she is winning the Hitmaker of the Year. And I guess just sort of putting that out there, like, what is a hit? Who decides, like, what is it? And, like, does a number one mean it's going to actually be a good song?
Well, especially in this day and age when like TikTok means the kind of rise and fall of songs is so accelerated. Like music has become so much more disposable. Things get really big and then they disappear really fast. So
Well, they release a song and then they're huge.
Is a hit like a sales thing? Is it a culturally impactful thing? Robert, can we just look at, like, I suppose, the difference between putting out this album and putting out the last album? So we have 16 years in between, and in that time, streaming has become the default way to consume music. Podcasting's become a thing. This is your first podcast, am I right, that you guested on? What differences have you felt, if you have, between the releases of the two albums, the immediacy of people hearing it, all of that stuff?
And there are many more things that are the same than are different, to be honest. Because I'm just trying to think back. It was 413 Dream, came out in 2008. We did a live launch on stage in a square in Rome, I think, for MTV Europe, and it was like it was broadcast Europe-wide on MTV.
Right.
This time around, we did a thing in London, but we did it as a global free stream, so it was bigger and it was better, I think. We weren't kind of tied into a brand. We didn't have advertising. We controlled it all. And I suppose that was so that's the same but different because we were able to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas it would have been unimaginable for us to even contemplate doing something on that scale in 2008. I wasn't, if I'm really honest, I was trying to make an album in 2008, which was a double album, and it was really odd. It had like all kinds of stuff on it, instrumental stuff, and I was pressured into reducing it all down into a single album that was too long and didn't work. And I've never felt happy about it. That's what.
Yeah,
so I bristle a little bit about it.
I can understand that.
At some point, if before I fall over, I'm determined, because I've still got there are 13 songs from those sessions that never got released.
Wow.
It was a double album, and it was the whole idea of 413 Dream was it was like a fever dream. As it turned out, it wasn't. It was nowhere near what I wanted it to be, and I learned a lesson. Maybe that's why we didn't make another album for such a long time. I hated the idea of delivering it to a deadline, and it was my own fault. I should have just ignored everyone. But unfortunately, we were signed to a major. That's why we didn't sign to anyone for like 15 years.
Yeah.
I was so sickened by the process of whereby we were commodified, and it really did. It upset me a lot, actually.
I bet. It must be incredibly frustrating if you've got a creative output.
Yeah, but in the bigger picture, it's like you think, oh, woe is me. It's like at the time you're thinking like, leave me alone to just go and bother someone else, get them to finish their album.
I wonder if that person for 15 years has been like, oh shit.
I mean, it's such.
They're actually in London at the moment and invited me out to dinner.
No.
So you're like, no thanks.
No thanks. It's going to be another 15, 16 years.
I'm still on good
You should have just
terms
sat down
like
and played them the 13 songs
No,
really
because
loud on repeat.
They themselves
listen.
had a boss.
Yes.
Oh, it's always the
their
way.
boss. Yeah.
But like, I do think that kind of threshold when music becomes a product, not to the artist ever, but to.
Come on.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe to some artists, but I don't know. I think artists don't like to think of their music as products.
No,
right?
but when you've got 15 people in a room creating a song, I do wonder, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
If it's not just like to get it out there and
No,
again,
of course.
There's nothing wrong with it in many ways, because you're thinking like if you're creating, particularly like with dance music, you want people to dance. If it takes 15 people to create a great dance record, then great. As long as people dance to it. But I feel there's a chasm between that and what's what I'm always tried to do, which is express something. I think it's a different kind of thing, but one is no more valid than the other. That's the thing. When I was young, I always used to think like I'm the side of the good, Whereas now I'd realised that it's all
expression.
Yes, it is
of a kind.
As long as when I was young, I always felt I would rather fail on my own terms than succeed on someone else's, and that's much more of a punky kind of ethic.
Yes,
than I feel is prevalent in the music business as a whole. It sounds very easy, and it is very easy to say if you've succeeded. And I am very aware of that. It's like, had things started to go really badly wrong, would I have had the courage of my convictions? But I honestly think I would, because it's kind of like it's part of like who I am. So bloody minded.
And were you writing, Robert, in those 16 years of not releasing music? Or do you have like a set time where you're like, now it's writing time? Or do you write bits every day and every now and then?
I write music all the time.
Yeah.
I write and play music a lot. In fact, I had this idea. I've got so many unfinished pieces of music. I was going to put one out starting next year on my birthday every week. And get people to write words for it, and then I'd pick the ones that I like the best after a year, and then I'd do an album of the 52 songs. I'd pick like 12. And
so they write the words and you sing them?
Yeah, because that's the struggle. What I was going to say is I don't write words very much. When I was younger, I used to write all the time, but now I just don't. And I never really wanted to be someone who felt that they had to express themselves. To me, there's not really such a thing as writer's block, although I occasionally allude to it. I feel it's kind of a weird construct because you either have something to say or you don't. I mean, you know, if you're a professional writer and you suddenly realise you can't finish chapter 4, it's a problem. But I think if you're like a creative artist and you don't have anything to say, it's not really a problem. You just don't have anything to say, so don't say it. You know, so. I still am in the habit of writing things down when I wake up in the middle of the morning, and you know. But and often if I'm wandering around outside, I'll always have a pen and paper in my pocket
and write stuff down.
So I'm very good at writing in the dark, actually.
Oh, yeah. Talk to me about.
I can write with my left hand in the dark.
I love that. I love the iPods,
so that I can keep
a
a glass in my right.
Oh, wait. So you've trained yourself that so you can have a bevy and write with your left.
That's what I spent the 15 years doing.
Yeah, it's been a long struggle, but you got there.
Well, listen.
Wait, talk to me about the schedule because I'm obsessed with what's paper. What is the Robert Smith schedule? You don't have to give it specific.
Yeah.
But is it? Would you say it is nocturnal?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got up before the afternoon for many, many years. When I was living in London, I became nocturnal. I mean, part of what I do as a job, it happens at night.
Yeah.
It's no good really if I get up at 7 or 8 in the morning and I've got to go on stage at like 9 or 10 at night. I'm not going to be at my peak. So my working day is always been moulded by the idea. And I've always just preferred being at night, you know, being sort of like awake at night. Getting up for school was like the worst. I hated getting up. I just hated it. And I thought, like, well, I have to think of something that I can do where I don't have to get up in the morning.
So what time do you go to bed?
Today, that's the problem. I never know what today is. Yesterday, I went to bed at 8 o'clock this morning.
Okay, wow.
So,
Yeah, I heard you say in an interview that, like, this blew my mind, and it shouldn't have, because I just never thought of things that way before about, you know, when you're outside at night and the day starts to come, I suppose there's this inherent sense of like, it's a new day, but you're just like, shit, the night's over.
Yeah.
The stars are gone.
Yeah,
I do. Wow.
Yeah, I do. It's kind of depressing. Like I never recognised January. That's the weird thing in our house. December the 31st lasts for 32 days. I wake up on February the 1st with a serious headache because January represents I'm always really, really down in January. So I thought if I just get rid of January and think it's December the 31st, well, for another month, it's fabulous.
It's New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So hang on, you just don't do January.
There's no January.
No.
So what, you can't say the word, you can't...
Oh, you can, but I have no idea. You know, it's December the 43rd in my house. It's like...
Wait, I might take that on because I struggle with... I mean, we all struggle with January.
February.
Yeah, February as well.
Not a
I might just
February.
keep it December to sort of May.
It doesn't work if you have to go into work.
Yeah, and do a daily radio show. Yeah. Everyone's like, is it all right?
It would be confusing unless everyone goes along with you.
You have to be a rock star.
So
I
don't insist on. I'm not answering that. That's not the right date. You know, I'm not completely mad.
Quick question. What's your favourite star?
Oh,
star.
Yeah.
Sirius, because it shimmers and glitters. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's the one that sparkles the most, in particularly this time of year in the night sky. It's sort of like multicoloured. Lots of people see it after they've, you know, and they're like, "Oh, it's a UFO." It's usually Sirius.
It's usually Sirius.
Serious. Do you know about stars, Annie?
No, I just know that Robert has a telescope.
Oh, right.
I was interested.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I do. I tend to look more at the moon than at stars through a telescope. It's pretty pointless looking at stars through a telescope.
Yeah, they're too far away.
You see the fabulous pictures of you know, nebulae and stars and stuff. But when you look through a telescope at anything other than the planets, you don't see colour because your eyes are too just useless.
Right.
And actually, my preferred way of looking up now is through a big set of binoculars.
Binoculars, wow.
Because then you see the you know. You look at the moon through powerful binoculars and you actually feel like you're falling off the earth. It's a much better feeling than, you know. But you can't really see much if you just look through a telescope
Yeah.
at the stars. There's going to be people saying, "What is he talking about?" Of
He's
course
talking
you
about
do.
the moon.
You were
didn't he?
asked.
But you see,
were
like,
asked.
you get more and more
Listen.
powerful at the telescope, and you just see more and more stars. And there comes a point when you go, "Yep."
The other thing, Robert, we would like to talk about with you, if it's okay, is the changing landscape of
the moon.
live music. So loads and loads of big names went on tour this year or have announced major upcoming tours. So Taylor Swift, as we speak, today or last night was the last night of her Eras tour, which is a year and a half long.
Made $2 billion.
$2 billion. In August, Adele held a 2-week residency, as we said, on a purpose-built arena in Munich.
She didn't want to travel.
And Oasis announced a reunion tour for 2025, which is big news for multiple reasons. We'll get to some of that. But let's talk about the kind of negative experiences that have overshadowed this exciting time for live music, and talk about tickets. Because I know you have strong views on tickets and how shows should be ticketed for fans. There was a massive debate around dynamic pricing with the Oasis tour going live. Loads of people so rightfully pissed off at Ticketmaster, going on thinking they were going to spend 150 quid max on a ticket and then being given 60 seconds to make a decision after queuing for hours to then decide, oh, am I going to buy a ticket for 360 quid or not?
I thought dynamic ticket pricing, when I first heard of it, was the more people that buy the tickets, the lower the price goes.
No.
And I was like, that's great for fans. No, it's the exact opposite.
It's the opposite.
So
The
if
more
you're
demand,
unaware of
the
it,
higher.
Yeah, the more demand.
What a wonderful world.
I was like, that's fucking horrible. So yeah, basically, Ticketmaster in this case adjusted their prices based on demand. So the bigger demand, the higher the price.
And I think the worst thing about this is the lack of transparency.
Yes.
So, Robert, this is something I'm obsessed with. You actually stood up to Ticketmaster and succeeded getting your fans their money back after being charged surprise fees.
Yes, but that wasn't dynamic pricing.
No, this
though.
was different,
Yeah,
right?
this is about fees when I engaged with Ticketmaster. Dynamic pricing, I mean, it goes on across all different industries, and I mean, it's a con, basically. It's like people... I was upset because I did the whole tour and based it on like how much money I thought the shows were worth and what the tickets were worth and what we'd earn out of it and everything, what we'd pay the crew, everything to do with it. And I wanted basically a $25 ticket, which for a 3-hour show and a support it's good value for money. And I thought, like, a younger audience will be encouraged to come and see The Cure, who might not otherwise come and see us if the tickets are $50 or $75. So they were subsidised, in my mind, by the tickets at the front, who are the rich people who can afford $175 for the first 3 rows. That's fine. The problem was that I was told repeatedly, you can't sell a ticket for $25. And I realised the reasoning behind it was that I'm setting the bar very low and make it. And in fact, I got a lot of calls from other managers of bands, weirdly enough, because we don't have a manager, so they have to talk to me, saying, you're really making us look bad. Like, I think, okay, then we'll charge more. So you're making us look greedy. And like, yeah, there's a reason though, because you are greedy. Like, you're charging too much for your merchandise. You're charging too much for your, I know how much profit you make and all these things. And eventually, because it's literally just me doing it, I got worn down to the point where I kind of came to this blanket agreement with them saying, like, unless the fees are an extraordinary, like, the examples they gave me were like $10, $15, and it goes towards like building upkeep, paying for staff, car park, I can understand that. Yeah. And what they considered extraordinary was obviously not what I considered extraordinary. And sure enough, when the tickets went on sale, a $25 ticket suddenly costs like $51.75, and I was outraged by it. So it was really just that. I felt like I'd been tricked by them. So I just went a bit crackers, really.
And what happened? You just got onto them and was...
Yeah, I don't know why I managed to get them to reimburse people. I still don't. But actually, when I was talking to them, I realised that if it wasn't them, it'd be someone else. They have shareholders, they're beholden to them, they have to make as much money as possible, blah, blah, blah. It's the system. I hate the system itself. So I was saying, I understand all this, but all I can control is like our shows. It's us playing the shows, and I want the tickets to be... Why can't I say what the tickets are priced at? Yeah. It's me that's like taking the hit. Yeah, well, and in the end, we played to more people and made more money out of the shows than we've ever done in our entire career. So I was proven to be right on every single level. Ticketmaster, they aren't going to change how they do it, though. They just shot that one down like we did. We lost that particular skirmish, but and I was slightly upset because very, very few artists actually stood up and said, this is
At
right.
the time.
You know?
And backed
was
you up.
really, it was a bit, because maybe understandably, they not hide behind management, but there's Live Nation and Ticketmaster and all other organisations that are pretty much monopolistic wield a lot of power, and artists are scared to speak out. So I'm at the tail end of what I'm doing, so I really don't care. You know, maybe if I was like 20, 30 years younger, I'd be a little more circumspect about, you know.
But also you're in a position where you will be listened to.
Yes, and there are many other artists
That's
who are in a
the thing,
much better
isn't it?
position than I am to actually speak out as well, but very few of them do.
But then a lot of artists who aren't in that position, who have to who consider themselves lucky to have a tour.
Lower down on the scale, a lot of people got in touch and said, like, it's so
Thank
nice
you.
to hear
Yeah.
you saying something,
Yeah.
but why is no one else saying it?
Right.
And it's like,
Well, here's a question. You know, Oasis, when this whole thing happened, they held their hands up and claimed complete ignorance, said, we don't talk to our management and our agents about this, we just didn't know. Who do you think is responsible? Like, where does the book start and stop with regards to this?
I can't second guess whether who they talk to or whether they know.
Yeah.
I think that you also probably have to look at the reasons why people play shows as well, whether they're playing, you know, there are many reasons why people go on tour and play live
Divorce.
shows. But at the top end of the scale, there's like you said earlier about Taylor Swift, there's a lot of money to be made. But she's giving, people love what she does and they go there and they're willing to go and they'll pay. So you're not exploiting people if they're prepared to pay a certain amount of money to come and see what you do. They've got a free choice. But there are, however, within that, a lot of free choices taken away. And it's kind of like, it's just like the artists, I think, should be a little bit more involved than generally people are. But with most of these people, once they are confronted with the artist, I think I said this thing a while back about the power of the artist. Artists don't sometimes understand how powerful they are, because that's the reason why people are going. It's not because Ticketmaster are selling the tickets, it's because that person is on stage performing, and it's that should be, artists should use that, I think, a bit more.
Yeah, that's such a powerful statement. I think you're so right. A lot of the time, especially in the industry, that the artists sometimes are the last, or maybe there's a sense of them being the creatives. So the business decisions are made.
And I also hate that as well, the idea that I'm able to do this part of it and understand what I'm doing, and that somehow it takes away from writing a song like Alone.
Right.
And it doesn't at all.
No,
it's
not
like
at all.
I've got like a limited amount of time, and I take control of the time, and I want things to be done the way I want them to be done. What am I supposed to do? If I delegate and someone will start making decisions on my behalf and I don't agree with them, I just sit back and go, well, whatever, it's not my job. So, I mean, it's not that hard to understand basic, it really isn't going to the moon, going on tour. It's a lot easier.
For sure.
Or so I've been told.
Yeah,
Obviously
we'll
don't
find
know.
out in the next episode.
Okay, so we have to, just looking back at the year, we have to think about our live music moments of the year. So if we look back at this year, I find these things very helpful because I can't remember.
I can't remember anything.
So it's good to force myself to look back at what's
Yes.
happened and what's been.
Yeah.
So Grimmy, first.
One.
Yep.
Can I have two?
Go on then.
I'm going to say my two favourite moments were going to see Jacob Alon, who I discovered this year, and I heard this song Fairy in a Bottle and got totally transfixed with it. So going to see Jacob Alon and knowing nothing. I can't remember the last time I went to go and see someone and didn't know where they were from, didn't know what the song's going to be, and totally loved it.
Yeah.
And my other one was going to see Laura Marlin, and I went on my own. And again, I can't remember the last time I went to a gig on my own. And I walked there on my own, sat in a church, shut up for an hour and a half.
Which is a big thing for you.
It's huge for me. I was totally moved by it. And I thought all the way through it, I was like, wow, she's really made me feel like I want to do something different with my life. I don't know what. And on the way home, I was like, who could I be? And then I just woke up and went to work and forgot about it. But for a moment, I was on the cusp of potentially becoming a great singer-songwriter. It's a powerful gig.
That's what a gig does.
That's almost a great story.
Yeah. And then,
And then I went to work.
Yeah. But I thought if I was probably off radio the next morning, who knows what I could have written.
Yeah.
What about you, Annie?
I would say, can I do my own gig, or is that cheating?
No, you can do your own gig.
So playing the other stage at Glastonbury, which I did for the first time this year, was huge for me, emotionally.
I love that gig too. That's number 3.
And then the other one, I'm sorry, Robert, but it has to be your gig at the Troxy, which I went to, and I've never seen The Cure before. and I was deeply moved. I just loved every element of it. I thought it was fantastic. And I knew that you did long gigs, but actually experiencing the 3 hours of a Cure show. And also, you did intervals. Never experienced that in my whole life.
We don't normally do intervals.
Do you not normally?
No, never.
Was it because of the filming?
Yeah, because the first part of that show was like the album, and I wanted like an intermission. It took me back to first time I experienced an intermission was 2001, actually, at the cinema in 1969. A big sign comes out that says intermission. You're like, oh, and you're getting ready for the second part. So I thought we needed just that 10-minute break. I needed it with the band because I didn't want to just power into the next bit. I wanted us to just kind of like recognise what we've just done and then go out and do almost like a second show, really. It was a lot more relaxed and a lot more sort of, it was a different kind of vibe and stuff. So it was, no, we never, I don't know. What, so we could sell ice creams and T-shirts?
Get your Cure ice creams.
It's kind of like...
I came to Grimshaw, I was like, they do intervals.
I love the
It's crazy.
interval.
But no, we don't have intermissions. So it was an unusual show in many respects, actually.
So what's your live music moment of the year?
Well, yeah, if you'd have to pick your own, it'd have to be that.
Have to be the Troxy, right?
It was because also the album, although it was out that day, I think people had become aware of it, and we knew that people were being moved by it, and so it became a celebration of the album rather than us and saying like, which is I suppose the biggest difference. You asked me earlier about releasing 413 Dream into an environment. We've kind of had to prove that what we were doing was good.
Right, yeah.
This time it didn't feel like that. It felt like we were just, and now we're going to play these songs. It was like,
and
so,
such a treat from a fan perspective to hear the album from beginning to end.
Yes,
I love that.
but
I
it's
love
strange to play songs for the very first time ever in such an exposed environment. Normally
Magic,
you kind of like slip them into it like midway through a show that's like that people don't even notice that what was they just played. On the plus side, very few people would know if you were going to go wrong. I can sing what I want. You know, it's the one time I get to sing anything at all.
Yeah. Have you started thinking about shows?
Oh, we probably will play next year. Yeah. But at the moment, I'm finishing off the companion album to the one that we just brought out. So I'm aiming to get that ready so that we can then start on the back of that. So,
And when will we get to know about the companion record?
Well, if I don't get it done by the end of next month, I don't. Yeah, I mean, it will get done. I shouldn't be negative about it. Of course, it will get done.
It'll be done.
It's pretty much done anyway. It's just that when I say things, oh, it's pretty much done, and then I go home and I listen and I think, I'm not sure about that, and I start tinkering and stuff. But I'd like it to be there because I left songs off the one that came out because there was it was just a bit too much. Yeah. And so it's not because the songs themselves. In fact, I love the songs that got left off. Yeah. It did make me laugh, and I think it's taken this long to make one happen. And I started talking about a second, so I'll wait and see.
Just don't wait 16 years because we're
no 16 months.
16 months.
That would be
good.
great.
We'll take that.
No, 16 months would be a failure on my part.
Robert Smith, it's been such a pleasure to have time
that was
with
great.
you.
Thanks, Robert.
Your first ever podcast.
How was your first ever podcast?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Really
It's nice.
appreciate
It's
you
lovely
taking
sitting
the
in the
time.
middle. Thank you for letting me sit in the middle.
Well, I like
really
it.
loved.
Okay, if you ever want to get in touch with us on Sidetracked, you can, of course, email us sidetracked@bbc.co.uk or on WhatsApp 079 700 82 700. You can subscribe to the podcast as well and get notifications when a new episode drops.
Yes.
Which you should.
You definitely should.
Obviously, The Cure have had a fantastic 2024. You can hear music from The Cure and loads more of our other favourite songs of the year on our playlist that we've done for you, available now on BBC Sounds. Robert, thank you so much. That was such a treat. Thank you.
Thank you.